Welcome to Echoes of the Unknown, the podcast where we'll be exploring some of the world's most fascinating unsolved mysteries. I'm Jack Montgomery, and today we're traveling back to 1989 to a cold winter night in Salem, Oregon. That's when a man named Michael Francke was brutally murdered in a case with no shortage of possible motives. An innocent man was convicted of the crime and spent nearly 3 decades behind bars before his release. Frustratingly, the true identity of the killer remains unknown. Francke's mysterious murder stands as one of Oregon's most controversial unsolved cases, blending elements of corruption, conspiracy, and questionable justice. As the director of the Oregon Department of Corrections, Francke wasn't just another victim. He was a reformer specifically appointed by Governor Neil Goldschmidt to clean up a prison system that was plagued by allegations of corruption, drug smuggling, and embezzlement. The events of January 17, 1989, remain shrouded in uncertainty to this day. Police tried to piece together the last hours of Francke's life. At around 6:50 p.m. on January 16th, after the regular Tuesday staff meeting, he spoke to one of his employees at the Dome building, where the headquarters of the Department of Corrections is located. 30 minutes later, 2 other corrections employees noticed that the light in his car was on and the driver's door was open. They could not find him, nor could they reach him on his pager, which he always carried with him. The employees called their superiors, and at 8:30 p.m., 2 officials searched the building. However, Francke was nowhere to be found. The 2 men left at around 9:30 p.m. At 12:45 a.m., a security guard discovered Francke's body on the side porch of the Dome building. He had been stabbed 3 times, including a fatal wound to the heart. While his car keys and briefcase were missing, his wallet remained untouched, an odd detail for what authorities initially claimed was a simple robbery gone wrong. This peculiar evidence pattern would later fuel theories about a targeted assassination rather than a random crime. The investigation that followed has been criticized as deeply flawed. Critical evidence disappeared, including surveillance footage from the Dome building. Witnesses changed their stories or simply vanished, creating a pattern that many saw as suspicious rather than coincidental. The case took an unexpected turn when authorities arrested Francke Gable, a small-time criminal with a history of drug use. The timing and circumstances of Gable's arrest raised eyebrows among those following the case closely. The prosecution's case against Gable relied heavily on witness testimony, much of which later fell apart as witnesses recanted, claiming police coercion. Despite these issues, Gable was convicted in 1991 and sentenced to life in prison. However, the story didn't end there. In a dramatic development on April 18, 2019, Oregon U.S. District Court Judge John Acosta ruled that Gable was wrongly convicted of killing Francke, citing unreliable witnesses and investigative failures. He ruled that Gable was likely innocent and did not receive a fair trial. Gable was released from prison a few weeks later, while the Oregon Department of Justice appealed the ruling all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court. Along the way, a 3-judge panel of the U.S. Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals agreed with Acosta that investigators violated Gable's rights by coercing testimony against him from a network of minor criminals. Most of them have since recanted their testimony. Since trial, nearly all the witnesses who directly implicated Gable have recanted, Circuit Court Judge Jacqueline Nguyen wrote in a 30-page opinion. Many explain they intended to frame Gable after hearing he was a police informant. They attribute their false testimony to significant investigative misconduct, which the state, remarkably, does not dispute. Judge Nguyen continued, as Gable's expert explained, the investigators used widely discredited polygraph and interrogation techniques as a psychological club to elicit the statements against Gable. The prosecution then built their entire case on that tainted foundation. The Supreme Court refused to accept the appeal on April 24, 2023. That sent the case back to Judge Acosta, who dismissed the original 1990 indictment of Gable with prejudice. He ordered that Gable be released unconditionally on May 8, 2023. After serving nearly 3 decades behind bars for a crime he didn't commit, Gable was finally a free man. But the true identity of Francke's killer remains unknown. The case has spawned numerous theories about what really happened that winter night. One compelling theory suggests that Francke was assassinated by corrupt officials within the prison system who feared exposure. Reports had emerged of fraudulent contracts and missing funds, pointing to an extensive network of criminal activity within Oregon's correction system. Francke, known for his dedication to reform and transparency, may have been getting too close to uncovering these operations. His reputation for thoroughness and determination to expose corruption made him a serious threat to those profiting from the system's criminal dysfunction. Another theory proposes that Francke's murder was a professional hit, ordered by individuals with significant influence in both legal and illegal circles. This theory gains credibility when considering the missing evidence and the peculiar handling of the investigation. Some researchers suggest the conspiracy extended beyond Oregon's prison system, possibly involving organized crime and drug trafficking operations that at that time had tentacles reaching into positions of power. The systematic disappearance of evidence and witnesses has led many to believe that powerful forces were working to obscure the truth. Patrick and Kevin Francke, Michael's brothers, have been tireless advocates for justice, consistently maintaining that their brother's murder was an assassination rather than a random act of violence. They've pointed to Michael's ongoing investigations into corruption and his determination to reform the system as motives for his killing. Their persistence has kept the case in the public eye and contributed to the continued scrutiny of the official narrative. The two brothers have repeatedly challenged the original investigation's findings and continue to seek answers decades later. The timing of Francke's murder adds another layer of suspicion. He was reportedly making significant progress in his investigations when he was killed. Several sources have suggested he was preparing to release findings that would have implicated high-ranking officials in various illegal activities. The fact that he was killed before he could complete this work has led many to question whether his death was deliberately timed to prevent these revelations. His position as the Director of Corrections clearly gave him unique access to information about system-wide operations and potential wrongdoing. Despite the overturned conviction of Francke Gable, authorities have shown reluctance to reopen the investigation. This has fueled speculation about possible cover-ups and has led to increased scrutiny from investigative journalists and independent researchers. The case has become a symbol of the challenges faced by reformers who challenge entrenched systems of corruption. The lack of official interest in pursuing new leads or examining alternative theories has only strengthened suspicions about institutional involvement in either the murder or its aftermath. The Francke murder case represents more than just an unsolved crime. It's a testament to the potential consequences of challenging powerful interests and the complexity of seeking justice when those tasked with maintaining it might be compromised. The unanswered questions surrounding his death continue to resonate with those who study corruption and institutional reform, serving as a cautionary tale about the dangers of confronting systemic wrongdoing. The case highlights the vulnerable position of whistleblowers and reformers who attempt to expose institutional corruption. As decades pass, the full truth about Michael Francke's murder may never come to light. However, the case remains a powerful reminder of the importance of governmental transparency and the potential costs of pursuing reform in the face of entrenched corruption. The ongoing mystery surrounding his death continues to inspire investigation and discussion, ensuring that his story and the questions it raises about justice and accountability remain relevant today. The case serves as a stark example of how institutional power can potentially obstruct justice and shield wrongdoers from accountability. Thanks for listening to this episode of Echoes of the Unknown. Who do you think murdered Michael Francke? Was he the victim of a random robbery gone wrong? Or was he killed because he knew too much? If you have any theories, we would love to hear them. Reach out to us on social media or email us at echoesunknownpod@gmail.com. And if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share with fellow mystery lovers. Until next time, stay curious, stay vigilant, and remember, sometimes the truth is stranger than fiction.